Succah Daf Yud Gimel, still in Chicago on the road. The Gemara tells us that according to Rav Chanan bar Rava, you're permitted to use hizmi and higi, which are types of thorns, for schach. But according to Abaya, you cannot use higi. Why? Because Abaya holds, since higi constantly falls into the sukkah, you're going to run away from the sukkah, and therefore you're not permitted to use it as schach. Rav says, on the bottom of the palm tree, where you have a lot of roots coming out, and you take a slice of the palm tree that has all these roots, we don't view all those roots as if you took a bundle of roots, and the palm tree acts as if it's grabbing them all. Why? Because all that happened, min hashamayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it like that, and that's not considered an eged. Now, even if you took a rope and you tied it down to pull it downwards to use it as schach, it's also not considered an eged because it was already one. There's a marar called marar ha'agam, the marar of the swamp, and you can use it for marar. The concern is that we know that by Ezav, using certain plant to be matar somebody who's tamei, you cannot use an Ezav that has another name. However, over here by the marar, since it was always called marar ha'agam, even before Matan Torah, the Torah said you could use that as marar. But Rava says no. Rava says at the end of the day, this marar ha'agam is called marar, plain old marar. If you want to explain exactly from what place it's from, etc., then you add the word agam, but that's not its name, and therefore it's mutter to use. Rav Chizda says halacha, if you try to tie one thing, that's not considered tying it. If you try to tie three things, that's for sure a eged, it's tying. But if you tie two, we have a machlekes, just like by a Ezav, for the meichatas, according to Chachamim, lechatchila, and for the mitzvah, you start off with three roots, and each root has one branch in the center. And if you do two of these roots, lechatchila, and you're only left with one at the end, you're yaitza. And according to Rabbi Yossi, you're not yaitza. If you start with one root, according to everybody, it's possible. In a place that let's say it's a city that they take bundles, and the only reason why they tie the bundle is so that you know how much is in a bundle, but they don't tie it to store, that kind of bundle is permitted to use for schach. There's no gzeiras oitzer on such a bundle. There's something called srife de urvene. It's like a little teepee hut. If you untie the top one and the bottom knot, then it's kosher. Ravuna says you don't have to untie both. All you need to do is untie the upper knot, because any kind of eged that's not made to carry is not considered an eged. And there, the bottom one is not enough to carry it around. It's going to fall apart. If you used a marar for schach, so any tumah that's underneath that marar is going to bring the tumah underneath the entire marar. So if you have on the other side of the schach, on the other side of the marar, you have a kli, it'll become tummy. But on the flip side, the marar cannot provide a chatzitza from the tumah, so the tumah will go right through the marar. Why is that? Because Chacham said, since this marar is going to dry out, so today it's not considered the schach. And they consider it as if there's only ear. Ear is pasal schach. And that ear passes a sukkah with 3 tfachim. Whereas if it's pasal schach, it's 4 tfachim. Ear is worse than pasal schach. And now we begin the sugya of yada. It's an amazing sugya. Yad is a handle. The handle of food, let's say you have grapes that have a branch that comes out. Any handle is not considered like the food, and therefore tumah doesn't go through it and doesn't go to it. But if you need that handle, then it becomes just like the food, to the point where tumah that touches the handle is as if it touched the food, and vice versa. And therefore the handle is makabel tumah. If you harvest grapes, you don't want any of the branches, it's not good for the wine, therefore it's not considered a handle, it's not considered a yad. But if you harvest grain for schach, that's considered a handle, the whole thing is a handle. Why? Because you want the handle, you don't want the kernels to fly away, you don't want the shaft to fly away from the kernels. Ravuna says even koitzer chita, if you harvest wheat, it doesn't have a yad, it's not considered a yad, and certainly grapes, because grapes you don't want the branches in the wine. If you take any kind of branch that's full of fruit, whether it's dates, figs, according to Tanakama, the branch has to be more than the food. In other words, you don't need more than the yad, the branch that's closest to the food. Why? Because the yad is kosher for schach. The Acherim say that the branches have to be more than the yad and the peros. Why? Because the yad is not kosher for schach, and in order for this branch to be kosher for schach, it has to be more, it has to be the roiv, more than the yad and the fruit. According to Rabbi Abba, only when it comes to grapes, there's no yad. And over here the machlokes is if there is yad. But Reb Nasha says, you could hold that according to everybody, if you harvest for schach, there's no yad. But what happened over here was very interesting. Over here he harvested to eat. So immediately it became a yad. And only afterwards he changed his mind. He said, I want to use it not for food, but I want to use it for schach. According to Chachamim, since he flipped it in his mind, it's not a yad anymore. And we have to understand this. It's like the Mandoma that says that if you untie a bundle, you're able with that untying to flip the grain into something that's not connected to food. But he didn't do anything in the grain. All he did is he untied a string. The Gemara says that's such a weak maisa that it's similar to machshava, it's similar to thinking in your mind that you don't want it to be food anymore. According to the Mandama, that says that it doesn't help to untie a bundle. Over here we're talking about that he did a true maisa in the wheat. He stomped the wheat. He broke it apart from the kernels, and that's why he showed that he doesn't want it to be food. Acherim who argue, even though you stomped on the wheat, it still remains a yad. Why? Because you have something to do with this yad. You want the yad. Where is that? In what case? Because when you put it up for schach, you want to be able to remove the kernels easily. You have to grab something. So you want the shaft. Therefore, it remains a yad. Have a wonderful day.